Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast. I'm Alex Kuzmin, Director of Support, and I'm thrilled to be hosting today a good friend of mine, Jonathan D. Fox, the owner of consulting Z2 Agency.
You butchered that, Alex. It's Z2 Consulting and Business Services. We're a full stack value creation agency that works specifically with venture capital funds and venture-backed portfolio companies. Thanks for having me on the show. Alex is obviously being her usual humble self because she's also ex-Yotpo, ex-Wix, and an ex-Hinge date. That worked out great. Worked out great for me.
I'm so happy you're joining me today to basically bring in these two perspectives. Me, someone who's working in iTech, and someone who is employed, and someone who's a business owner in Tel Aviv today with the current situation in the world in general. So I think we have a lot of things to talk about. But I think that the focus should be a little bit AI and automated solutions, because I think this is what is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to dive right into it.
Wonderful.
So, Jonathan, how do you prefer me to call you today on this podcast?
It depends. When I land in the U.S., it's always Jonathan. When I land in Tel Aviv, it's always Jonathan. And when I get to my parents' house, I can't even say what they call me.
Okay. It's like oversharing. Hashtag oversharing.
Oversharing.
Yeah, it's the second time after being a Hinge date.
Exactly.
So anyways, I'm very curious to know, how do you use AI in today's world and how it's important in your business? And I want to share with you my thoughts on it. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to be interesting to our listeners.
So for myself and for my team, we do use AI almost every day. I could tell you about mundane things at home where I try to decide what movie or TV show I might like to watch next, and just tell ChatGPT or Gemini, I like these two TV shows and this movie. What do you recommend? So there's that aspect where almost any little issue that comes up, you could type it into one of these platforms and get an answer. But obviously the answer you're going to get, and this goes to professional as well, the answer you're going to get is not 100% correct. You're always going to need to have that human eye and the human aspect that could take what the AI gives and translate it into real actionable uses in the real world. I could take a text or an idea for a text from AI, but it's not going to be perfect. I'm going to have to edit it. I'm going to have to rework it. Maybe something in the top is great and something in the bottom is terrible. It's never going to be 100%, and I don't think as good as these platforms ever get that it will be 100%. Do you see anything like that happening in the support vertical?
So from support perspective, I remember that once we just started with AI, we were very, very stressed, what AI will gonna just steal our jobs, so what are we gonna do next? But I think that the one thing that AI cannot take from us is the creativity and strategizing and seeing the bigger picture as a manager. And I'm a manager of managers at this point of my career. I'm a director of support. So there's certain traits and certain things that AI cannot take from me, and this is that creativity. I think AI helps us a lot to automate certain solutions, like a chatbot, for example. Definitely, it helps. The professionalism that AI gives you if you're not a native speaker. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have people that work in my team from all around the world. So, of course, there is a lot of cons and a lot of pros. Mm-hmm. And creativity and strategizing, it's what I have, and this is what AI cannot take from me.
And how do you see AI developing in the IT space, in the years to come, maybe 5-10 years into the future?
So I definitely see a lot of automated solutions, like time to first response, and I'm trying not to use a lot of professional terminology today, of course. So it's going to be interesting for everyone, not only for those who are in support. But I think that automating solutions, it's a first thing first, and time to first response and RWT, which is a resolution wait time, a lot of things and a lot of regular support KPIs can be reduced by using AI. But rolling back to the human touch you were talking about, it's still important, because since we're not only machines, it's still human to human, it's businesses to businesses, it's B2B and working with other people, we still need to have this human touch to really understand the core issue. So, Jonathan, I know that there's a lot of challenges, not only in support, like in any business, basically. Today, there's a lot of challenges out there, and it's all about communication and training, especially when you're managing people. So there's certain processes and tools that you have to be in charge of, and embracing different technologies nowadays. So what is the main focus for you in building relationship with your client? Same for me, like it's customer problems, and I'm also building certain relationship with them. So what do you think about it? How it's going to evolve?
Are we talking about specifically AI, or are we talking about support in general?
I think in general.
Support in general.
Yeah.
I think support is different, but I think almost every business has an aspect of support in it. If you're running an agency like ours, or you're running a $1 billion unicorn, you have clients, you have to keep the clients happy, you have to meet their expectations, you have to keep building the business with new clients while maintaining your previous clients. If you're a 10 person outfit, or if you're 1,000 people. But I think automation and AI specifically offers a lot of opportunities, not just for the big businesses, because I think the smaller businesses as well. If I'm one owner, or if I have another partner, for instance, how many clients are we really able to serve?
Right.
With AI, it's exponential. As we grow, we can offer the same level of great service to many more clients, and I think that's where I see it going.
So, I want to give some personal perspective in here, and it might be very personal, but I will still share with you. Like in the last 5 years, there's so many things that happened to me on a personal level, besides, COVID that everyone experienced, but also war in Ukraine and then war in Israel. It's like in my both countries. But there's so many things I went through, also divorce / separation.
You have a daughter?
I have a daughter that is 4 years old today, and on the top of everything, I had to be a manager, and then managers of managers in support, and I'll have to be like a role model and provide like an excellent...
You don't have to be a role model. You choose to be a role model.
I chose to be a role model, definitely. And it was like a lot of responsibility on me, But I think this tremendous desire and passion to support and to serve my clients and to give them the best possible service ever that is out there, actually this drive is basically what makes me continue waking up and going and doing this job better and better. And this is how I see myself from now. Like in 5 years from now, I still want to be VP support and still providing this excellent up-to-date support, not like an old school kind of services. So the desire and passion, and this is what I like about the people I hire to my team. I never give them this kind of a pass by, start with support and then become a developer or go do marketing or whatever. No, support is a career. It's something that you choose for yourself as a career path. This is how I started myself, and I do support today over a decade, I believe.
Right. I was going to ask, how do you see support and the philosophy regarding support, and maybe even customer support? How do you see the philosophy different from, you don't have to name the companies, of course, but you've worked for a few here in Israel. I think 3 or 4 unicorns, maybe?
Yeah.
How is the philosophy different from company to company?
I think that what is super important for me, it's bringing part of my soul and part of my views with me to every company I work for. So it's super important for me to have empathetic people with empathy in their DNA that want to work for clients, and then being like a people's person, basically. So this is the philosophy, like a base of the philosophy. You have to be a people's person to work for support. Of course, there should be a lot of passion to technology in general and what's going on there, which tools we're using in support. If it's Salesforce or it's Zendesk, or what kind of Jira we're using, Confluence, articles, everything, everything should be involved. And this curiosity of knowing the core issue of the problem in order to resolve it, in order to solve it, these components will be something that will make a good support engineer for me. So that's the philosophy.
All right. You have me convinced. If ever you're looking, to branch out on your own and start your own company, I know quite a few investors here in our little ecosystem and across the Atlantic. It would be amazing to see more founders that have passion like you have for not just support, but really keeping clients happy.
Yeah, definitely. Jonathan,
Thank you,
we
Alex.
are like talking a lot about support, but let's move a little bit back to being a business owner. And I want to hear from you, what are the challenges that investors looking at Israeli startup and considering in general?
Well, I think a few things. Since about 2021, which was a peak year in investment in Israel, we've seen a shift and a downturn. I think that's, on the one hand, a global trend that we're seeing, but I also think that it's directly tied to several things in Israel. The political landscape, obviously the October 7th war. So if I'm looking through the eyes of an investor, San Francisco-based, London-based, what have you, if I'm looking at different, deal flow and different investment opportunities, if I can invest in a company based out of India or out of Israel, and in India I know that the political landscape is more stable, and I know that the chances of an all-out war breaking out are much lower. I would need a lot more incentive. I would need to see a team in Israel that's world-class and exceptional, which we're seeing. And I would need to see an idea that's world-class and exceptional, which we're seeing. And I would need to see the business potential, the growth there. If we were talking about AI before, obviously I would love to see 100, 150 new startups in Israel being developed year after year. I think Israel is a great and fertile field for ideas and for hardworking people, and a melting pot of different ideas, really. And I think that's something that can always be leveraged and exported internationally.
Absolutely. So what are the main challenges Israeli startup founders are facing now compared to previous years?
So I think I just touched on it, but maybe it's important to look at it from the startup side. I think two things that I would really say set the Israeli founder apart from other ones. One is really the geographical issue, where Israeli startups right off the bat, they don't even really look at the Israeli market. They immediately think about how they could export their products, services, etc. abroad. And I also think there's an aspect of chutzpah, which is hardwired into almost all of us. You can't go to high school or the army or anywhere really in Israel and not pick it up. It's contagious, really.
Absolutely. So
I think Israeli founders are going to be knocking on doors and not taking no for an answer. And I really stand behind the mottos, we deliver no matter what.
Yeah, so how do you see Israeli venture capital funds and venture back-end startups leveraging AI to their advantages?
That's a good question, Alex. Actually, I'd like to hear from you first of all. While I think about a good answer, I'd like to hear your idea about how you see different funds and startups leveraging the AI.
So I think it depends on the product. And since I'm a very product support oriented, like it's not only about providing good services, but also how we can make our product better. I think it depends. So obviously for like a SaaS platform, which I'm really good at and work for like over a decade today with SaaS platforms, AI could be very beneficial. Speaking about cybersecurity today, I think there's a lot of regulation we have to think about as well. So I think it requires like a work of a really big team. So not only support, but also like marketing team and law. I think it's like, so like the punchline would be the product, I guess. Depends on the product. That would be my answer.
I think there's a very interesting limitation to what AI is capable of at the moment that has a direct impact stemming from how different corporations are viewing having their employees share critical information, sensitive information with, these different platforms. One company can have somebody writing code using AI, another could create a business plan using AI. Where's this information going? Who's going to be using it? Is the model going to learn what I'm doing and then offer it to my competitors? Is that... I think that's a very interesting case, and I think that's what's maybe limiting AI really catching on in the enterprise and corporate world. What do you think?
So look, I think it depends on the transparency that you allow yourself as a company to share with your client. So in case there is like a policy of the company that requires like a 100% transparency, then there's no such a big deal, you know. And even if there's AI involved in certain writing, it's absolutely okay. But again, I'm coming back to my previous answer and previous question you asked me. It depends on the product. And when we are talking about some kind of a governmental cybersecurity, like you need to filter it out. And there's a lot of teams that has to be involved in the processing in general and building processes around it. But me, because I'm coming from e-commerce world and I work for 10 years with e-commerce, I'm into transparency. And I think that you should be as honest as you can be, you know, and provide as transparent information as possible. So I'm into sharing everything with my clients. Yeah.
So Alex, if you weren't doing what you do today for a living, what would you be doing?
Absolutely the same thing.
Really? This is your dream job?
Yeah, I think I'm absolutely blessed to find myself in support. So like I'm just gonna share with you my story a little bit. I made Aliyah 13 years ago and I spoke a couple of languages. And I thought, what I'm going to do in Israel, you know, I moved from Ukraine to Tel Aviv. And then I thought, okay, I live in another Silicon Valley in here, in a way. So, like, what's next? So I thought I'm going to find myself in high-tech. And I started to apply to different, like, junior positions. And I found myself in support. And I grew rapidly in a way. Like I came to weeks, and 3 months later I was promoted to a team lead, and I was like a manager for Russian-speaking market already. And I grew, and then after a few years I got a job offer from Yotpo, and they were basically looking for a team lead, group lead, for someone who will work with BPO, with support outsourcing, tier 1 and tier 2 here in Israel, and outsource. And I grew. I kind of rolled with it. Then I built my technical knowledge, learn different things like debugging, HTML, CSS, SQL.
Wow. That sounds amazing.
So, you know, I kind of like just rolled and grew and learned different things. And yeah, I'm definitely in a good place because like sky's the limit, you know. I can develop my technical skills more. I can develop my strategy skills. And I'm really passionate about strategizing in general. I can, do sort of entrepreneurship in IT world today. So sky's the limit. It doesn't matter what you do, marketing, support, or you're a developer. You can do different things through your career. You can work for a startup, then you can work for a corporate, and those companies will give you tools to do whatever you want.
Really? Is that how it works when you're beautiful and brilliant?
So what about you? What about the job of your dream?
I think really if I go back to my earliest wish, it was that I understood my father's a businessman, and that he gets up every morning, shaves, and goes to work. And when he'd ask me what I'd like to do when I get older, I told him, I want to work with you, I want to be a businessman. But I had no idea what that means. And then so by the age of 5 or 6, I already wanted to be a baseball player for the Yankees, of course. And that dream hasn't left. Even though I can't throw the ball as far anymore and I can't bend down to pick it up, midlife crisis. I think I am doing my dream job. I think I always wanted to be involved with people. I think I always wanted to be involved with creating something and helping it grow and helping clients grow. I really like sharing an idea with people, developing the idea, then getting people on board, getting them, bootstrap it with the team, and then see how that can develop. I've been involved with different startups here in Israel on a personal level and on a professional level, and I really love the ecosystem. I love the people.
True.
When October 7th happened, one of the first things I noticed, obviously, it was a terrible, terrible tragedy. But one of the first things I noticed was that, people were in Miluim. in reserves.
Right.
And people were home with 3 or 4 kids, without help. And I reached out to several of my connections here in different venture capital funds and their portfolio companies, and offered our services, Z2 services, for free. We live in this ecosystem. We're going to have to work together and make it exist and make it thrive. And so in times of trouble, like in any family, you do your best, and you give your slice of bread to this person and a drop of water to that person. And I'm just happy to be thankful and fortunate enough to have this opportunity.
I'm present, definitely. I'm so happy we talk about it, because I think these are the people I like to hire as a manager, people that are really excited about this job opportunity and want to grow and learn and do different things. Because what's the point of doing something you don't like? I think that at work, nowadays world, I spend more time with my coworkers and my counterparts more than with my family.
Of course. They are your second family.
Absolutely.
It's not just a cliche anymore.
Absolutely. No cliches here. So you definitely have to enjoy what you do, because you're going to be there 80% of your life.
I sometimes have friends that aren't founders and are less in the startup world, more in the corporate world. And we talk about, different opportunities for them opening up. And then they could describe this position, which in every aspect of what they're telling me and what I know about them sounds terrible. And then I'd ask them why they want to do it. And then they'd say something like, well, if I do this for 2.5 years, 3 years, then I could go do this. And as somebody who's been an entrepreneur and his own boss for 6-7 years now, I don't think that's the way to go. I may be wrong, and maybe personal, maybe just right for me, but I don't see why you'd want to go do something terrible for 2-3 years for the chance of doing something you'd love, for 2-3 years after that. Life is short. We get X amount of time with our family, we get X amount of time on vacation, and X amount of time at work. I don't see why you would want to waste that time when you could be building yourself, and there are many ways to get to each goal. I mean, the path that may have worked for another friend or a sibling or a parent or what have you isn't necessarily your path, and I think the most interesting and important thing is to really feel like you're setting your path for yourself. That's how I find personal fulfillment.
Let's talk about entrepreneurship a little bit in here, because last September, right 1 month before 7th of October happened, I thought to myself, okay, you're in support for the last 10 years. Let's do something meaningful, and let's try to do your own business. So I thought of having my own company, starting my own company, and basically connect Israeli and American startups with different services in Eastern Europe, where I'm originally from myself, support and developers, QA. So I thought of starting my own company. And it was very, very hard, because 7th of October happened, and then, it was harder to look for clients and everything. And I realized, okay, if I'm going back to being employed to work for a company and not being a business owner, it should be absolute fulfillment and absolute excitement of the product you work for. At this point of my career, I'm not looking for a company, just any company in IT, in iTech today. I'm just looking for a dream job, a product that I'm absolutely excited about, a product that will give me space to grow, learn it technically, technology-wise, and good people around me. I think good people is so undervalued skill, so undervalued part of any ecosystem we're talking about. What do you think about it? How many?
I think if we're talking about coworkers and employees and co-founders, etc., partners, I think I look for a few things, a few, very, very basic things. I have to feel like I can trust a person and feel like I know that they trust me. That sometimes takes, weeks and months and sometimes years. But that's obviously a very important factor. The second factor is I always try to work with people that are much, much smarter than me and that are willing to work much, much harder than me. As a business owner, I sometimes work 6.5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week if I give myself, that half day extra vacation. But I do have flexibility. If I want to, meet a family member for lunch, I could schedule it, go, and never feel bad about about showing up an hour and a half later than expected.
Right.
But I do pay for it. I do end up working, until 10, 11 o'clock at night sometimes, with the West Coast in the U.S. and the time difference here in Israel. So with employees, I always look for the trust. I look for the dedication, the devotion, and the intelligence. They have to be much smarter than I. And then the fourth thing is a sense of humor. I need to be able to read them, work with them, joke with them, laugh with them. We're going to be spending many hours a day, like you said. This is our second family in many, many ways. And some of them will be your best friends for life.
Right. That's why we have this match for this podcast. I think our sense of humor, it really
our
works for us.
Our distorted, terrible sense of humor.
Oh, my God. I can't believe we're talking about it public. Jonathan, I know it wasn't an easy year for anyone, right? Like after 7th of October, everything what's going on in the world. But I want to say something positive in here and positive thoughts.
I think, first of all, I'm hopeful that we can find a peaceful resolution to the conflict and go back to building our lives for the better on both sides of the border.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, I also think that from a business perspective, the next 12 months are going to be crucial for the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are opportunities now in the market where companies have been working and the traction has been much tougher and the money has been much harder to come by because of the situation. I think the valuations of the companies are undervalued, and I think it'll be a great year looking back even a decade from now. I think many investors that are in Israel know that, and from the conversations I've been having with different fund managers and different professionals in the field, I think most of us agree that this is going to be one of the best years. The opportunities there, I'm very optimistic.
Sounds good. I hope so. I really hope so. Because I found myself it's really hard to find a dream job these days, yeah? Especially since you're looking for something very specific like I do. But I'm also trying to be optimistic, and I think it just takes a little bit more time than general, than it used to. But it's going to happen.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Thanks for having me on the show, Alex.
Thank you for coming. Yom Tov.
Yom Tov.